That morning, dew still clung to the rice leaves, reflecting the sunlight that had just appeared on the eastern horizon. I walked slowly on the rice field embankment, carrying a small bucket that I tied to my back. That day, I planned to look for snails so that my rice plants would not be eaten by snails. The sky looked bright, with thin clouds moving slowly blown by the wind. As my feet stepped on the soft mud, I suddenly saw something that caught my attention. In the distance, in the middle of the vast expanse of green rice fields, stood several egrets. Their bodies were pure white like cotton, standing out among the green rice leaves. The birds stood upright, their long beaks seemed to be watching something in the water. Because I was amazed, I continued to walk closer to them. The morning wind brought the sound of small gurgling water from the irrigation channel, and I could only stare, watching the birds in awe. His movements were so graceful, as if he were a little king in the middle of the rice fields. With one quick movement, his beak dived into the water, then he lifted his head, revealing a small fish that sparkled in his beak. My awe deepened. I felt like I was given the opportunity to see another side of nature, something I rarely noticed in my daily life. Usually, I was only busy thinking about the harvest or the needs of my livestock. But that morning, I felt as if I was being spoken to by nature, through a simple egret. I stood there for quite a while, forgetting my purpose. The egret kept moving, walking slowly with its long legs, looking for its next prey. Sometimes it would fly short, its flapping wings forming beautiful shadows over the rice fields. After a while, the bird finally flew away, leaving a trail of elegance in the blue sky. I took a deep breath, feeling relieved and inspired at the same time. With a small smile, I walked again, starting to walk through the mud to look for snails. However, in my heart, I knew that the experience of seeing the egret that morning would always be remembered, as a reminder of how beautiful nature is that is often overlooked in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. I walked slowly between the rice plants, as I usually do every morning. However, something was different today. I realized that my snail hunting routine was starting to lose its challenge. In the past, every time I went down to the rice fields, the snails seemed endless. They crawled in the mud, on the rice stalks, and even skulked behind the grass. I could quickly fill my bucket. But now, I have to be more patient. The snails seem to have decreased drastically, perhaps because I hunt them relentlessly every day. I squatted in the middle of the rice field, looking at the calm water between the rice stalks. Every now and then, my eyes searched for small movements, perhaps a snail shell sticking out of the mud. But today, I only found one or two. Although slowly, I began to realize that this was not a bad thing. In fact, I saw its impact on my own rice fields. In the past, the golden snail attack was a nightmare. They greedily devoured young rice stalks, leaving damage that affected the harvest. I remember how frustrating it was to see the plants I had worked so hard to plant being destroyed just like that. But now, the scenery of my rice fields has changed. The rice stalks are growing more lush, green, and upright. I no longer worry about snails eating up the rice seeds I have just planted. While continuing to pick up one or two snails that I find, I reflect. It turns out that all this hard work has not been in vain. Although hunting snails every day feels tiring, the results are clearly visible. My rice plants are healthier, and I don't have to spend a lot of money on pesticides. Everything feels more natural, like how this rice field should be maintained. However, there is another side that makes me feel a little empty. This snail hunting activity, which used to be a big part of my daily life, now feels different. There is no longer a bucket that is full in a short time, no longer the feeling of rushing to collect as much as possible before the day gets hotter. But I have learned to enjoy it. I realize this is part of a good change. I stand for a moment, looking at my green rice fields. A gentle breeze hit my face, bringing the distinctive scent of wet soil and rice. In my heart, I was grateful. My efforts to maintain the rice fields, although simple, had a big impact. My rice plants grew better, my harvest was more secure, and I no longer had to worry about the threat of the snails. But usually this condition will only happen for a short time. Tomorrow, a few days later, the snails will definitely appear again in my rice field. Because earlier there were many small snails that had just hatched. I hope this video brightens your day. Thank you for watching my video.